So rejoice. And no matter the craziness that's happening, you don't necessarily have to react based on what you're experiencing. So your face does not have to look like your bank account. Your demeanor, your posture, your vibe, your energy doesn't have to be like your bank account. Worry doesn't make your life longer. It makes your life more miserable. When you start worrying, you look like your mind. So you begin to look crappy. Your space becomes toxic. You fall into depression. You don't want people around you. Hello, Lade Deo. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Lade. Welcome to another episode of Faith Friday. This is the third Friday in October, I believe, and we're discussing worry. We're continuing on the series of worry. Last week we talked about how to have peace even while you're worrying. So we'll be discussing the act of rejoicing even in the midst of worrying. Our key verse for today is Habakkuk 2 from verse 17. Let me read from the Amplified Version. It says, "Though the fig tree does not blossom and there is no fruit on the vines, though the yield of the olive fails and the fields produce no food, though the flock is cut off from the fold and there are no cattle in the stalls." Verse 18 says, "Yet I will choose to rejoice in the Lord. I will choose to shout in exultation in the victorious God of my salvation." Okay, so verse 17 was talking about everything that can go wrong. No food in the house, no money in your bank account. Your boyfriend just broke up with you, your girlfriend just broke your heart. Everything that can go wrong to make you worry. But then in verse 18 it says that, "Yet I will choose to rejoice." I'm reading from the Amplified Version, by the way, and I like it because he explains more in depth. It says that it's a choice. The act of rejoicing is a choice. I will choose to rejoice in the Lord. I will choose to shout in exultation the victorious God of my salvation. And when a tree doesn't blossom, it's not as if work has not been put into it. It's just not fruitful, but yet I choose to trust him. What is going wrong in your life at this point? Make a decision to rejoice, because as you have seen from verse 18, it says, "Yet I will choose to rejoice in the Lord." I think I've mentioned on all the episodes since last month how God has laid all of this on my heart, because there's some things that cannot enter 2020 with you. You know what I mean? Like, we need to sort them out and take care of them. Last month we talked about fear, and this month we're talking about worry. So what is it that's causing you, that's stealing your joy away, that's making you putting you in a state of depression, putting you in a state of worry or too much thinking? The Bible says that you should choose to rejoice. We've been reading the book of Philippians throughout this worry series, and I'm going back to Philippians again. In Philippians chapter 4 and starting from verse 4, it says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice." But the Amplified Version says, "Rejoice in the Lord always, delight, take pleasure in him. Again, I will say rejoice." When something is emphasized upon, it shows the importance for it. Rejoice in the Lord always. And who wrote Philippians? Paul wrote Philippians. And surprisingly enough, when he was writing this, he was in prison, and he's talking about rejoicing. It's ironic. It doesn't make any sense, but that really is where the miracle is. That is where the breakthrough is. Rejoice in the Lord. Again, rejoice. Verse 5 says, "Let your gentle spirit, your graciousness, unselfishness, mercy, tolerance, and patience be known to all people." Let your gentle spirit be known to all people. So rejoice. And no matter the craziness that's happening, you don't necessarily have to react based on what you're experiencing. So your face does not have to look like your bank account. Your demeanor, your posture, your vibe, your energy doesn't have to be like your bank account. It doesn't have to look like your kitchen supply, your grocery pantry. It doesn't need to look like that, because Philippians 4 verse 5, it says, "Let your gentle spirit be known to all men." And what is that gentle spirit? That's why I like the Amplified Version. It says, "Your graciousness, your unselfishness, your mercy. Some of us, when we don't have, that's when we're so cranky, and anybody that comes around us is, well, we're thinking, I don't even have enough, what am I giving you? So it says, let your gentle spirit, that should be what should be known to all people at that time that you're going through worrying. Your graciousness, unselfishness, so be given your mercy, your tolerance, and your patience. I mean, it's ironic, but it is what it is. That's what you are supposed to do when you are worrying, and that's why it says to rejoice again, rejoice. So I'm sure most of you are thinking, Lade, is this even realistic? So if you don't have, you will not give everything, you will not open your mouth to the air, Abby, when there's nothing to eat. Or most especially if you have dependents like a child or people that you're looking after, what are you going to do? Calm down, okay? It's okay to be concerned. And we're going to read the next verse in Philippians 4. It's fine to be concerned, but it's not all right to be worried. And there's a big difference between being concerned and being worried. Before we go into the difference between being concerned and being worried, let's read the next verse in that same chapter 4 of Philippians. The next verse is verse 6, and it says, do not be anxious or worried about anything, but in everything, every circumstance and every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, continue to make your specific requests known to God. That's the answer. So it's okay to be concerned, but don't be worried, don't be anxious. However, by prayer, supplication, and thanksgiving, continue to make your specific request known to God. We're going to delve a little bit into how to make your request known through prayer, supplication, thanksgiving. But before then, I want to just talk about a few differences between worry and concern. Worry doesn't make your life longer, it makes your life more miserable. When you start worrying, you look like your mind, so you begin to look crappy, your space becomes toxic, you fall into depression, you don't want people around you. So one of the major differences between worry and concern is when you're in charge of your thoughts, and you still have your sanity in place and you still have your mind together. But worry is when your thoughts are controlling you, when your thoughts are controlling your actions, your outlook, what you eat, what you wear, because you are sad or because things are not adding up. You wear the wrong, you wear one leg of shoe and the second one is different, and you go to work, so everybody will know that something is wrong with you. No, that's not right, and that's not healthy. So don't allow the worry to overwhelm you to the point where it has now taken over. I think the perfect example to use would be Hannah, Samuel's mother. Hannah was married to a man who had two wives. Her other wife mate, her name is Peninnah, and Hannah was not just only barren at the time, she was barren and she faced so much persecution. The Bible reference for the story of Hannah is 1 Samuel chapter 1 from verse 6 is where I want you to read. In verse 6 it says, Hannah's rival provoked her bitterly to irritate and embarrass her because the Lord had left her childless. So it happened year after year. Whenever she went up to the house of the Lord, Peninnah provoked her, so she wept and could not eat. Then Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you cry and why do you not eat? Why are you so sad and discontent? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? She had a sweet husband. So Hannah got up after eating and drinking in Shiloh, and now Eli the priest was sitting on his seat beside the door, blah 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 blah. Hannah was greatly distressed, and she prayed to the Lord and she wept in anguish. Then, this is where I want you to pay attention to. Verse 11, she made a vow saying, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look unto the affliction and suffering of your maidservant, and remember and not forget your maidservant, but you will give your maidservant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of my life. Okay, so that's where I want to get to. So she was provoked, she was embarrassed, she was bitter, by her rival. And some of us are facing this already in our life. I don't know what it is that you're not fruitful in. not necessarily childbirth. It could be maybe you're trusting and believing God for children and it's frustrating you. Maybe it's your job, maybe it's your business with clients. You just are in a place where you're like, it's stagnant and you have hit a plateau and you're not sure what's going on, and you're getting embarrassed, you're getting bitter, it's getting really bad. What did Hannah do? She went to the Lord and she made a vow. She made a vow to give that fruit that she has been expecting. She said, when you give me a son, I'll give him back to you. You have to get to the point where you are able to say, God, if you give me this thing, where you're able to make a vow with God and say, if you give me this thing, I'm going to give it back to you. It's going to be for your glory. That is one of the secrets to how your fruit can come, whether it be a child, whether it be a job, whether it be more profit on your business or more clients, whatever it is that you want that signifies that fruit. Get to that place where Hannah got, okay, and give it back to God. By the way, I forgot to mention, did you know that even after she had Samuel, who she dedicated to the Lord, and she said use him, and he grew up in the house of God, after she had Samuel, she had other children. She ended up having 5 children. So God is not only able to give you what you need, he's going to give you more, but you have to be the one to start off that bargain. Okay, so whatever it is that you're trusting God for, I pray that he gives you exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask, all that you can think, and all that you can imagine. Don't worry, everything will be all right. It's just a matter of time. Again, we're dealing with worry. There's one more Friday before we wrap up the worry series, and we're going to go into something more exciting in November. And we're trying to just get this sorted out until 2020. We're hitting 2020 with a bang, you know what I mean? So that's all I have on today's episode of Faith Friday. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and also hit that notification bell below so you know when a new video comes up. Until next time, guys, keep being the best version of you. Bye.